Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cardboard Hands. I know it's been a while, but we are so happy to be back. I know I'm happy to be back. It looks like Retro's happy to be back too. Today, it's just going to be the two of us. We have a lot to talk about, and I don't want to say so little time, but there's always time is always limited in life, so you always want to make the best of it, right? I know, Nick, you probably got listings. You got to be listing out, 24 hours of the day. So thank you so much for being here to sit down and talk with us. But without further ado, how you been, man? How's it going? I want to talk with you about Pokemon. I want to talk with you about Lorcana. I want to talk to you about just the hobby and burnout in general. Like where you been, like what you doing, where I've been, but what's going on, man? How you doing?
I've been good, man. I'm just recently, like I kind of talked about it a little bit last time, but I've been looking for more of like a traditional like finance type role or whatever. So I've been kind of like working on that a little bit and working towards there's certain like securities certifications you need to have certain jobs. So I've been like working towards that a little bit and probably gonna like do some more schooling as well. So just kind of like getting ready for that. I have school starting here at the end of the month to get back to that. So that's mainly been my focus, and then trying to get like some like work done outside because summer is basically coming to an end. So like there's certain things that you like I've been painting and different things like that. You want to get that kind of stuff done during the summer. Obviously,
Homeowners.
yeah, yeah. So just been doing that. But yeah, what about you, man? How's it been? I know we had a good time in Long Beach, and then you kind of just been, living the Hunter S. Thompson life, like full vacation mode for a while now. So what's been good with you?
Yeah, man. I've had a crazy last month or so. I do feel like I want to talk about Long Beach, and I feel like Long Beach was the last time we did this right before Long Beach, right? And so you and I both went. I had a great time there. And like it's so far out. It's so out of my memory now. I'm gonna struggle talking about it. But let's do a little Long Beach recap while it's still here, and then I'll go into what I went into. It'll kind of help go into what happened after Long Beach with me. But I had a really good Long Beach, man. Like I saw you a little bit there. Like obviously we saw you were in the front and I was kind of towards the back, and it was really busy. We saw each other afterwards and hung out, and but it wasn't like every time, it's just a whirlwind. So I didn't get to talk to you a lot in Long Beach about how you did or after the fact. So I did really well. As far as what I do remember and what I can say is it was one of my best shows that I've had. And I only had one table, and this was a show that I decided that I'm going to next year at Long Beach do two tables. And at most collecticons that I can swing it that are closer to me on the West Coast, I'm going to be shooting for the two table rather than one table kind of go for it because I am so happy with the turnout that they had compared to something like Dallas or like maybe Kansas City from what I've heard, or but then again North Carolina, I think it was actually a hit. From what I've heard this last weekend, Collecticon over there was really good. But anyway, Long Beach was great for me. I sold a
Wait,
ton.
really quick, what are
Yeah,
you gonna fill the extra space with? Is it sealed product? Like what extra stuff are you gonna bring for the second table?
I can always fill a whole nother case of like slabs when I'm at these events because I usually the way my setup typically runs is I use this sign behind me. So this is a good, shout out to my little sign. $10 little clear plastic holder for a piece of regular printer paper. You just get a color printer, print out whatever you want, put your QR codes for your Venmo, your PayPal, your YouTube QR to all your socials, your LinkedIn, whatever you want, your logo. You just throw it in there, slap it in, you put prices on it. You can do whatever. And you put that on your table. It looks really nice. And I use a pack dispenser, which is I have down here. You can't see it, it's kind of out of picture, but it's a big clear pack dispenser I put on the back of the table to give a little bit of height to the table. And I can put the sign on top of the pack dispenser to bring it up the logo a little bit. I put that in the middle of the one table usually. And then I put two cases on either side of the table as far out as they can to leave a little space in the middle. of the table, and then in there I put my binder, and I put some singles that I kind of want to put out there lower. I don't mind that. I want people to be able to pick up and look at, and I can have them in the middle of the table and watch them. And I stand there at the middle, and that's my setup for every Collecticon typically, or any show that I go out with one table. But with the second table, I would basically be able to expand out a little bit, make that center a little bit bigger, so people could actually kind of more than one or two people could be at the table at a time. Because I find often, especially at the bigger and better Collecticons like Long Beach or Orlando, shout out to the West and the East Coast Collecticons. Best coast is the either East or West Coast. I don't care, just somewhere on a coast, please. Um, and so the bigger ones, I need more than just one person or two people to be able to be at the table at a time. I find people would literally be waiting and watching, but they'd walk away when someone was, and I don't want to lose the sale from the person who's in front of me already engaged. So I'm not going to stop engaging with them. Be like, oh, hey guys, come back. So it's kind of like having the extra space would just allow me to sell more and do even better than I did. And I feel like prices, I'm sorry to say this in the podcast. Hopefully it's far enough in that they're not watching anymore. I still feel like Collecticon table prices are too low, and they're going to go higher in the
Whoa, whoa, whoa
I know.
there, boss.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it because it pains me because I'm the one paying, because obviously I want, but I still feel like for what you get, the prices of tables are really fair at Collecticon, to a point where I've paid more or similar prices for local show tables, and it's just like Collecticon has got a lot going for it. That's all I want to say. So I think it's a fantastic establishment. I had a great Long Beach. I'm going to plan more for Long Beach and do more next year. But like, how'd you do? Like, what was your Long Beach like? Because I want to know that now because we haven't really talked.
So this was, it's weird, really quick, to like the fact that we didn't get to hang out too much. Like, it's weird, man. Like, you always are like, oh, I'm gonna hang out with this person, I'm gonna hang out with this person, and then you go and like you're so busy and burnt and tired that like you don't even really get to spend too much time with anyone, and it's kind of a bummer. Yeah, so like maybe at some point going to one just to like hang out and not really like be tied to a vendor table, like that might be a little bit easier because then like you have a little more energy, you can hang out with people, you have more time. But it is a bummer because you get to see people for a little bit, but then you're so like you're all caught up in vending, doing deals, all that sort of stuff. And you don't get really to kick it. Like it's not like, and it's all day too, right? Like you're vending from early in the morning till early evening, I would say, like four or
Yeah,
five
because you go
o'clock.
to a trade night and that's still vending. You're still
Yeah,
working at a trade night, basically. Yeah.
exactly. So you get a little bit burnt, you get a little bit tired, but this was the first Collecticon ever. Shout out to Ray that I actually brought a binder, and the binder printed, dude. The binder printed like slabs. I feel like there's just so many less people interested in slabs than there are people. Like so many people, even people that like didn't end up buying anything. Like the volume of people flipping through the binder was insane.
Mhm.
And on your singles that are like cards that are priced like at the 25 to $30 range on eBay, you have to stay under the 20 to hit the eBay standard envelope. So if you sell a card for $25 or $30 on eBay, you get hit with like $4 or $5 shipping, right? So being able to sell that kind of stuff in person is crucial because you get the full margin. Basically, you don't have a huge chunk of your margin eaten up by shipping. So that was nice. And there's just a lot of people that came over, just like random cards that I had, like cheap Sun and Moon era Charizard hollows and stuff like that, that I'm in for like 20, 50 cents a piece, whatever. They're just like $2. And they'll just like buy a whole page, or they'll buy three because they want to fill out like a top row of their binder. You know what I'm saying? So, like, stuff like that, good looking cards for cheap, easy to move. I will never not bring a binder ever again because it's just too easy, dude. It's just too easy. So and I did the same thing kind of that you did, to where I turned the cases. Oh, he's got the saucy, the four row. Um, I did um the cases. I rather than having them horizontal like I usually do, I turn them vertical this time so that in the middle I could have room for. I had like some I have these like Japanese McDonald's like black and white era sort of like 3 card hollow packs or whatever. So I had a few of those, and then I had the binder, and I just had more room for stuff, which was nice because like it ended up doing really well. It was just weird too because like Saturday was usually really popping at all the other collecticons, and then Sunday was kind of slow. But at this one, it was the opposite. Like Saturday, my binder got like destroyed. Like people were just tearing through it. Not as many slab sales, but then Sunday it's funny because I was talking to, I want to say Jodo Jake, and
Shout
my
out to
girlfriend
Jodo
like
Jake. He's
had,
a local in my area, by the way.
he's a
I see
cool
him at
dude. He's
every single local show I go out. He's always, "Hey man, how's it going? What's up?" I'm like, "Yo, Jake, what's going
okay.
on?" He's the homie. He's the homie.
Yeah, I'd never met him before, but he's a super cool dude. Very,
Very
very
cool.
chill, very positive. So shouts out to you if you're watching this.
Got an
But
amazing collection, by the way. If you ever check out his
yeah,
cards and stuff, he's got a crazy collection. It's just really cool stuff. So
he's got some nice cards. But anyway, so I was talking to him, and then my girlfriend like tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, like these people want to buy stuff." And this dude wanted to buy a bunch of like really niche, kind of like higher end Japanese stuff from me that I sort of just brought to like show off. I didn't know how it was gonna do. And he's like, "How much if I just take all of this?" And so we worked the deal or whatever. And it ended up being a really big deal. And I was like, "Are you a streamer? Like, like what's up basically?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I used to stream a little, but not really anymore." And I was like, "Oh, okay, like what do you do for work?" And he's like, "Have you ever heard of Pawn Stars?" And I look up and I'm like, "Oh, it's Chum Lee." Like it's crazy, but I didn't recognize him because I've always seen him with the really long hair, and he had like a hat on and his hair was shorter, and I think he's lost like a good amount of weight and
he
stuff. So I
really
didn't
has.
like
He's lost a bunch of weight. He looks good lately.
yeah. So anyways, I ended up selling a bunch of stuff to him, so that was a pretty cool experience. Um, but yeah,
Sold
man,
to him on Whatnot before, but never in person. But he was staying like a couple doors down from me at the last Long Beach Collecticon, so I ran into him in the
okay.
hallway.
Bro, it was hella funny. We we were up on like the 15th floor, and we were at the bar at one point, not on the 15th floor, but the bar in the lobby. And they were asking, I can't remember why. Like, I think we were picking up room service or something. And they were like, "Oh, like these people are at the bar." And they're like, "Oh, like where are you at?" Like, and we're like, "Oh, we're on the 15th floor." And they're like, "Oh, we're up there too." And he's like, "We're streamers. So sorry, if we're loud." And dude, it was like probably 11 o'clock at night, and we hear these people, and they're just like, "Oh," like screaming because they're pulling cards or whatever. And we're just like, "Bro, go to bed. Like it's 11 o'clock at night." It was
At
crazy. But
Collecticon, literally
I know, act
all
like
day. That's what we're doing.
yeah, dude. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was pretty good experience. I heard a lot of people say that last year was more packed than this year,
It was
but
smaller though. The venue was smaller, so it felt more packed. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean overall it was pretty solid for sure. I definitely think the best ones so far have been Orlando and Long Beach, at least for me. So I think if I'm gonna repeat some, it'll be those two. Still hoping for a Seattle, man. Still hoping for a Seattle. Like if they do a Seattle, I'll probably do, I mean, at least 2 tables, I would think. I'll bring some. I mean, I have comics and stuff. I could bring like a whole tote of comics and have the like I have there's so much bulky stuff I have that I could bring if I was driving and it was local. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like that's
see
the
what
beauty of
happens.
being local. And that's the thing, like that's why I'm thinking about the shows on the West Coast I'm gonna expand it to because like, oh man, just having a table just for sealed to have alongside the table that I already have of just like singles, and because I don't sell a lot of sealed. Honestly almost sell no sealed at I sell mystery packs, which is like the closest thing, or mystery boxes. That's the closest thing to sealed that I sell because they're little boxes. They're like this like this big. So this is my mystery boxes. So like that's all. They're not sealed because I can't have the space for big sealed boxes like I would like to. But having an extra table, I would just maybe even delegate that whole table for like ETBs, boxes, collection boxes, UPCs, those types of things. Because, bless my distributor's heart, but I just talked to them and they're like 5 minutes away from this local show that I'm going to be going to this weekend, the release of 151. And I was talking to them just before this podcast. And I said, "Hey, I'm gonna come pick up my allocation or whatever this Wednesday. I'm gonna probably sell out of a lot of it by Friday or something, but I'm gonna save some because I have a show at the end of the month. And they said, well, if you sell out, we did save a couple extra boxes for you. And since you're so close, if you want, we're going to be working this Saturday. You can just come over after you sell out at Newark. Shout out to Newark Card Show. Come out and see me, by the way, guys. I'll have 151. I'll have it as well priced as I can because I will be able to sell it all and then buy more. And I'm going to be able to pick up more right after the show after I sell out, which, I love my distributors because, like, they had told me they would have a set amount for me, and that's what I'm picking up. But they set aside extra for me just in case, and that was so nice of them. So it's great to have a good relationship with your distributors, and I'm blessed to have cultured a good relationship with them over the years, and it sometimes pays off. Sometimes it's whatever, but most of the time it pays off. So
Yeah,
do good
especially
in the
on a set
world.
like that, like
Yeah, like be good by people, do good to people. Maybe it comes back. I'm not saying I do good by everyone. I try my best, but it comes back to you sometimes. So that's what I guess a little advice there. But going back to Collecticon and how it kind of went in Long Beach, I'm glad to hear you had a good one too. Because like even though like what you said, we didn't get to hang out as much as planned. I honestly, that's like even though it wasn't as much as planned, that was kind of planned to me ever since I've been going to Collecticons, like they never play out how I thought they would. I don't ever spend as much time with the people I thought that I would as I do, but I always spend time with people that I didn't expect to, that I do enjoy having fun with and stuff. So
oh,
so it's always
did you get to meet Charvy?
yeah, dude, that was
Yeah,
yes, he came
that
by
was
and I got
cool.
to talk to him for several minutes and like at the table and then I signed he had like a thing to sign to kind of commemorate his trip and we hung out afterwards at one of the events a little bit too. It's just really nice to see him in person because he came all the way over for across the pond to see us. So like yeah, like people like that. You run into people that you didn't expect per se, but and you see people you don't. So even though I would have loved to have spent more time with you, obviously I spend time with you so much in this podcast that like it wasn't my priority if you and I'm not offended if you say the same, because we see each other so much. Even though I would love to see you go to dinner with you. By the way, room service at the hotel was top notch. I don't know if you
Yeah, it
ordered any.
wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
I had the best wings. Dan, you missed out. Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles, when you watch this back, put down in the timestamp because I know you're going to, because you missed out on the best wings I've ever had from room service at this restaurant. Like, it was so good that I ordered some wings while I was on my never ending vacation that I'll kind of go into a little bit after this. I was on vacation after CollectCon for about a month. So ordered wings for probably 3, 4, 5 different places that I thought would do really good. Not a single one could hold a candle to the wings from this restaurant from room service at the hotel in Long Beach. But so Dan, I'm sorry you missed this one. I don't know what the sales would have been like for you. You probably would have crushed it like you do at all of them, but you definitely missed out on the wings, and that's something you should feel bad about. All the other stuff you can let go, but you should feel a little tinge of guilt in that robot circuit breaker of yours. There's a little short circuit going on there when you hear about the wings. Anyway, after Long Beach, I've been feeling the same as you, man. I've been feeling like a little bit. I need a little time away. I was feeling. I don't want to say burnout was the right word for it because, like, I still very much so, and I know you feel this way probably too. But I still love what I do, and I feel like grateful that I can do what I do and get by with it and have fun and still kind of continue on. But like I was getting a little burned out with Pokemon as well. Like the new Scarlet and Violet stuff has been really lackluster in my opinion. Not only in like the pricing and the sales, which obviously was gonna impact how I feel about it because it's part of my business, but not just that, but I think the sales reflect how the overall sets were just recepted or received by the public. And I felt that way about them too. So like you can only go back so far into like the previous blocks and get the undervalued stuff and go back to those older plays for so long before you really do just kind of like lose that passion. And that's what I've always said about modern Pokemon and how it's tied to the health of the hobby. I think we had this conversation a while back on the podcast and we were like, oh, how do you think that what would happen if the hobby stopped making standard sets and stopped printing modern sets and just, would it just die or would it take X amount of time? And I think depending on how, we discuss it, we've kind of gone different ways, but I've always held to the opinion that it's incredibly important to have a thriving and current modern standard TCG environment for any of the vintage to have a chance at holding a flicker of a flame of value. And the minute that that stops happening, then that vintage stuff, maybe it holds value for a short period. It very quickly falls off because the standard gives confidence. The modern gives confidence in the past. So if you don't have that confidence, you start, I don't know. Anyway, I started getting burned out. So after Long Beach, we had a Disneyland and Universal Studios vacation planned for about a week long vacation there. That week extended a couple extra days, let's say, because we wanted to be there for Halloween, and the Halloween didn't start until September, so we had to move it and push it and push it. So we did some days in Universal, and we did some just days not going to any theme park, just hanging out at the hotel. We really took some R&R, some time. I took some of the profits from Long Beach and decided to allocate them towards mental health, and my fiance had set aside money to do the same so that we could have some time. And so we really took our time and had a sort of, it felt like a never ending vacation. And then right when we got back, my best friend is getting married, and so we went up to Tahoe, and this weekend we had a whole weekend at Tahoe, and we just got back from that too. So like it extended, like we had a week back while we were back at home, but I didn't let myself get out of that vacation because I knew we were going out of town another 3 days or so right after that. So like we were really on vacation during that time at home too, because like Ahsoka came out and we're enjoying like the new Disney releases and stuff, and like so I have been on this state of I haven't gone back to work mode. I haven't really done much, like I haven't gone to any local shows, and honestly the only card stuff that I've been interacting with at all over the last month, really, since Long Beach, has been by total happenstance, and it's not even Pokemon, and it wasn't planned at all. So like I guess like what I've done to sort of combat that burnout was I literally took a step away and did something so adjacent, it's so different, but like somewhat adjacent to it that I guess I didn't think of it as burnout at the time, but maybe it was a little burnout that I was experiencing, but like it helped me taking some time away. So like I got into Disney cards while I was at Disneyland because the day that Lorcana released, I was at Disneyland. So I actually bought Lorcana cards at the park. They had a limit of two per person. And so we bought two of like the gift boxes just for whatever the MSRP, probably more at Disney parks, honestly, but probably less than on online. But we got them, didn't think anything about it. I was like, oh, cool, Disney trading cards. I'm a Disney, I'll buy some. We put them in the hotel room, did the rest of our vacation. And then just a week ago, when we got back, like just recently, we opened those cards up because we didn't do it at the parks. And that's when I've fallen back into this whole like cardboard. Like this last week before, while I wasn't making content, wasn't doing a lot of Pokemon stuff, I was really diving head first into Lorcana. And so I really like what I've seen, and it's really helped me kind of combat that feeling I was feeling of burnout from Pokemon shifting to something, because like I love cards. Pokemon is getting a little stale because I didn't love the modern stuff so much. PSA hasn't given me the light of day in 3 months now. I'm literally still left on red on like 2 3 month messages now from PSA, and I'm starting to feel a little scorned by them. So maybe that had something to do with my shift a little bit more into Lorcana too, because the singles in Lorcana are just so expensive right now that you don't even have to do like grading. Lorcana is actually one of the weird things that like I have booster packs that I'm saving to sell in person at conventions, knowing that I could open them and sell the singles for more than what's inside, but I already have a ton of singles from stuff I've opened, and I want to have a variety because you can't get someone into the game just selling them singles. And so in order to get new people into the game and have people actually buy my singles, I feel like I have to have some sealed product at the table as well, because nobody who's not experienced the pack opening experience or the experience of having a starter deck or whatever you need to actually experience the game, because I don't think that this is hype. I don't think this is hype beast type demand. There's real organic demand for for people to play the TCG. Families want to play with each other, but they can't buy it because it's so expensive and being scalped. So like I'm struggling because I'm an evil profit going business who wants to sell the things for the most profit I can, obviously. I have a limited amount of this stuff because I don't get it from a distributor. I have to buy it online, and I'm buying it like if I've gotten a limit of 4 from my local Target, and I've gotten that 2 times since I've been back, which I've been real lucky about. But that's not enough to really sell, so I've had to buy it online for secondary prices. And so like it's really hard to get people. I want people to be able to buy it from me, and I want to sell it for the most I possibly can to make the most, but I also want to be able to sell it and get new people into it to sell it to more people. So it's hard for me to struggle to not open it because it's worth more opening right now. So yeah, plus EV is weird. When sealed product is plus EV, it just starts doing this parabola upwards motion. So that's what's going to happen with Lorcana. That's what's happening with it. So while I was on vacation, I fell into Lorcana just by accident. It definitely helped a little bit with my burnout. So like I guess maybe that would be something that I could. Obviously, you got other stuff going too. You've got schooling, which we actually haven't even talked about how that's going. So hopefully it's going well for you. But like other things that I could recommend doing would just be taking a step away. Obviously, with the business, it's hard to do that because you kind of have to keep it up. But maybe if in a healthy way, you can take like little sabbaticals from the things that you're being burnt out on, and that would be something I would recommend not just to you but to anyone listening, that like if you're ever feeling burnt out about something, what worked for me specifically in this one case, and I'm not going to say it like cured everything, I'm like back at it refreshed and everything, but I feel better and about things, and I'm excited. Maybe that has something to do with 151 as well, but just taking a little step away sometimes, it's not a bad thing. It's not the end of the world. Pokemon will
What
be here.
what would you, I guess, like, obviously, taking a vacation and like you said, Lorcana, but like where do you still find joy? Like grinding day in, day out, doing this stuff? Like where do you still get enjoyment, or what do you do to like still find joy and happiness, I guess, in, this whole card ecosystem, I guess?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. You're right. We didn't really go into that, so I appreciate that sort of clarification, because that's something I've actually thought a lot about after I stopped selling on Whatnot, because like after I stopped interacting with people on Whatnot, I did not realize how much of my real joy from the hobby came with firsthand interactions with other people. I always thought it was the cards themselves. I always said in the podcast that the number one thing I liked is the buying and selling aspect, and like that flipping aspect was really fun for me. But it wasn't until I left selling from Whatnot and I took the element of live streaming out, but I kept buying and selling with the cards and kept doing the other things, that I realized that I started feeling like something was missing and everything like that. Because so it's the live interactions for me is where I find joy. And then when I started doing collecticons, before that, like the reason I stopped doing Whatnot was because I started doing more collecticons and live shows and loved them so much. I was like, oh, I don't need to do Whatnot. That feels like wrong. It feels scummy, kind of. I'd rather just do this in person. So like I did start focusing more on doing live selling and doing it. But what I mean by live is in-person selling, because it allowed me to have those interactions with like people that I so craved. So like personally for me, it wasn't until I left Whatnot and stopped doing my regular grind of what was before, and then started doing my normal grind of what is now, that I realized that like part of that grind that I really loved was something I didn't even know that I needed and loved so much, because I thought I got it from Discords, I thought I got it from YouTube lives, I thought I got it from wherever else I would get it from. But then like when I stopped talking to people, even if I was talking to people on a screen, through a screen, for something with me, I need to be talking. I'm a freaking talker. I don't know, you could tell from the podcast. I have to be talking apparently. So like I get joy talking to people in the hobby, and the best way for me to do that is in person or through a screen. And so like I've said it before. I think I made a video about it recently or after our last podcast, that like if Whatnot cleaned up its act, which it has been trying to do recently, that's something we might want to talk about at the end of the podcast a little bit, is the Whatnot thing. That's something I completely forgot about because I've sort of changed my tune a little bit as they have. But like for me, I find joy interacting with people. I love this. I love that at a Collecticon. That's what we always talk about. Like everyone who goes to Collecticon, they're like, it's the community, 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 community. Like that word means nothing until you're a part of a community. Then you're like, holy shit, it really does kind of it means something, you know, like there is a community of sorts, and like it is what I like the most about it. So I guess that's something that helped me, was taking it away and then realizing that's what I love so much. And so I've been able to re-inject that and reinsert it a little bit more into my day to day, my or more of my week to week. I do worry what's going to happen once like winter hits again, and like and all that summer is over, now that it's sort of just summer is finally ending. It just kind of like it flipped off, it felt like it just turned off, you know. But it worries me when I can't book as many shows, if I'm not going to be able to book more than one per month, or because I'm able to book a show every single weekend within an hour of where I'm located in a different spot, and I never knew I could do that before. And I don't know if it was like that before the whole boom, but maybe it's like that now, because and it seems like new ones are popping up every show I go to. I have a guy with a flyer handing me a flyer saying, "Hey, I'm going to be doing a show in XYZ town. I'm looking for vendors to come out to it. Here, if you tell me you met me here, I'll give you $20 off your table." And I'm like, "Hey, okay, I would come to the show regardless, so hell yeah." And so every show I go to, I feel like I meet more. And so like I personally, I'm enjoying being able to inject once a week or once every other week, going out and interacting live with my community. And that's really, really helped me. So like I don't know, maybe going to more lives if but you know, that's just me. So I don't want to like suggest that for someone like you if that's not your shtick. Like some people don't want to interact with anyone at all, and I totally understand that too. So I just know that about myself. You know, I was a tour guide. I did wine tours in the Napa Valley for like groups of people. I was dealing with like bachelorette parties and like big groups of families from like all over, and like I was doing 2-hour tours with people before I was selling cards, and I was doing that every day. I was the guy. Like I was doing wine and cheese tasting pairings and stuff. So like I kind of have to interact with people like that in a certain way, in a certain amount, I guess. There's a lot of people listening who probably didn't know that about me. So like, shout out to what I did before.
Would
But
that be like when you get older, or like if cards slowed down or anything, like would you be interested in working in like food and hospitality? Like would you want to become potentially like a sommelier, or like maybe even like a chef or anything? Because I know you're a foodie for sure and you really like food. Like is that something that you would be passionate enough to do as a career again at some point potentially, like even maybe if you got older in retirement or something like that, just to sort of stay busy? Or are you kind of like, has that ship sailed a little bit?
I always, the reason I left doing that was because I felt like it was like around for thousands of years, and it was something I'd always be able to fall back into if I wanted to. Whereas cards were something that felt like a sort of a flash in the pan, and I was gonna enjoy that sear as it was going in the pan, and really enjoy the food as it were, the moment. So I wouldn't say it's ruled out ever if cards slowed down and it really fell off, and I got tired of it even, and I just, I'm done with this. I don't know if I would go directly back into hospitality and service industry. That was just where I was at because the area I'm in the Napa Valley. So like that's a very hospitality driven area. And I was in doing that when I was younger. I've developed quite a few skills since then. I've done trainings and done a little schooling and stuff. So like I don't know if I'd slide back into hospitality because I would like to try other things probably if I was going to go back into workforce like that. It's not currently in my plans. Like currently things are still working out with cards as well, but I liked what I did with hospitality. It just worked well with my personality, I think. And I do love food, but it's always been a little different than with cards. Like, yeah, I love cards, and so I wanted to make it a part of my life and of my business. As far as food's concerned, though, and like also service hospitality, while I enjoy like a good wine or a good drink once in a while, I don't like being drunk, but I enjoy the flavor of alcohol. It's a weird thing to say because when I was younger, that would have been like the opposite I would have thought, but now here we are. But like I wouldn't do that for a career if I had better choices because it sort of sullies what you love, like in the same way that it can do it with cards. Like if you start doing what you did as a hobby full time as a business, and like for me, I collected before a little bit. I don't collect anything really anymore. So like when I became a business, that changed. I stopped collecting because I made the decision to not collect anymore. And so like that's something I never would have done if I didn't start. So maybe that sullies it a little bit. Maybe that doesn't for it doesn't do it for me. Maybe for some people they might view that as sullying the experience a little. So that's why I wouldn't go into cooking for a living. Not I just think that chefs aren't paid enough and I wouldn't enjoy it enough and it would sully my love of food and the cooking experience that I do like cooking for my family and myself, my friends. I enjoy making good foods and spending time doing it. I don't think I'd enjoy it if I did it for a living though. And I've always held that opinion about it because ever since I was in my early 20s when I moved out and had to start cooking for myself and really I realized that I like food and like I had to be able to cook for myself to eat the food that I liked. And so I learned very quickly that I want to separate those things. So that was always something I had
You
decided that I
still
wouldn't
gotta
do.
watch the bear, dude. You still gotta watch.
I love
You got.
the concept of like, the restaurant industry, and I watched the Food Network religiously, or I did when I
Oh
had
yeah,
cable, and
100%.
I grew up watching Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, so I live vicariously through his travels, and he's a big food guy and like worked in the kitchens kind of thing. So I respect the hustle. I also worked in lots of food industry before I got into hospitality industry, and I sort of shifted away from food and went into more of like hospitality side with like doing tastings and tours and like after I was at the winery that I worked at for maybe like 10 years, for maybe I worked there 3 or 4 years. That was when I started being like a senior member. That's when I really started doing more of the tours and things because you start to know the history and you become comfortable and it just becomes second nature. So I think that I was shifted away from the service industry because I don't like the service industry. I shout out to those who work in the service industry. I've been in it and I shifted away from it because I don't believe that the service industry gets enough credit for the hard work and the long hours, the difficult time, the like holidays that you have to work that everyone else gets off. When everyone's off on the weekends, you're working the weekends. Like it's a grind and it's just I don't think there's enough that goes into it. So I don't want to do that because I don't think they're paid enough. So like and some people might say they're paid really well because tips are really good sometimes, but I still don't think it's enough still. So I probably wouldn't go back into the service industry unless I really had to sort of thing. But hospitality, if it was like maybe my own thing and I had my own, like I could see myself owning like a cheese shop, like a artisan cheese shop if I didn't have to do it for the money, if it was for the
The
passion.
old cheese shop.
I could see that, yeah, like a fancy cheese place because I was on the verge of getting a certification for like fancy cheeses, like um the American Cheese Association. They do like a yearly certification. And my before the pandemic, my winery was gonna pay for me to go out to Seattle and do the test. And they're gonna subsidize it all. And but then the pandemic happened, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. And then I stopped working for the winery. So like I was close to doing it because I wanted to, but they were also gonna pay for it. But like I could see myself going into maybe that element, but not like the service element. You know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah, that's
slower
fair. That's
pace.
fair.
That fast pace is just too stressful, you know?
Yeah, 100. Well, back to the bear, like there are some episodes that are just like chaos. It's weird, man. Like some episodes are really like artsy and like well shot, and then some episodes are like chaos the entire time because it's trying to accurately represent what it's like to run a restaurant. There's family dynamics, blah blah blah. Like it's pretty good. You should watch it when you get a chance. I think you'd like it. But
I
anyway,
probably will. You're the third person. Like this weekend, I was at my extended vacation, and some people were telling me about the bear as well. They were recommending it. So you're literally one of many people who have told me. I respect your opinion a lot, though. So I've already had it on my list, but there's a lot of people who have been telling me about that for sure. But yeah, other than like, you know, trying to get to more local and find joy in that particular way, like the shift for me from going to just a different TCG really did help a lot. And like I think it's kind of funny that like I'm doing the whole Lorcana thing right now because like you and I had talked about this before, hadn't we? Like you said specifically, right, that you were gonna go hard into Lorcana. And I'm curious if you've done any Lorcana, like if you've actually or
I looked. I so there was very minimally like I looked at one of the Mickey cards. I think it's called like Wayward Sorcerer or something
Mhm.
like that. And it's
Worth over $1,000 in a PSA 10. Yeah.
is it? Okay, yeah. So it's I went on and I saw that the like difference between the raw price and the PSA 10 price was pretty substantial. So I was like, oh, maybe I should buy a couple copies of this off eBay. The only thing is like I haven't seen Lorcana cards in person, so I don't know the print quality. I don't know if like centering's bad, or and I know it's a flat foiling, and so flat foiling scratches really easily, print lines, things like that. So I'm like, am I gonna buy 10 copies of this on TCG Player and get wrecked? Like I didn't know. So unfortunately, I'm mad at myself. I haven't made any moves on Lorcana, and it's funny too because I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go totally for it. Like this is gonna be easy, free money, and it is. Like the people that are making the plays like are crushing it for sure. But um, after the Japanese sort of like mini bubble happened, a lot of prices busted, and then I felt like there was really good value, and then there was like coupons on like Mercari and things like that. So I went pretty hard buying just in general because like I was like you could get 10, 15, 20% off on a lot of stuff. Um and I was buying even like slabs and stuff too because I'm like these are cheap and um yeah, just bought a lot. And so like right now I'm on like a buying freeze, but like right now is like the best time to be buying like so I'm just like, oh man, like I'm missing out on it. And I know the new set comes out in a few days, so I'll probably go in on that for sure. But we're kind of like maybe when the second set drops, I'll go into that. Or like if I can go into a shop in person or buy it at like a show locally or something to where I can pre-grade it, I'm definitely still down to buy it. I am mad at myself that I haven't made any plays. And it's crazy too, right? Because it has its own like on the TCG player, like on the top, how they have the main categories, like it's a brand new card game. There's only one set out, and it has it's like up there with Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic and Pokemon. So like it's crushing right now. Like it is popping off. TCG players doing really good. I remember when I talked to the guy that runs like the whole TCG category on eBay. I met him in Dallas, got his card, like talked to him on Zoom and stuff like that. And he was very bullish on Lorcana. And he's like, yeah, like eBay's getting ready, for the release of Lorcana. We think it's going to do really good. So a lot of positive sentiment around the card game. The cards look good. Again, like I haven't seen them in person, but the arts are like pretty good, and they're not like at first I was kind of worried that they would be a little like kiddie. Yeah, the back's sick too. I like the back a lot.
I
But the
like it
cards
more than
look
I
good. Like
thought
the
I would.
arts, the arts are pretty fire. I'm not mad at it. And I like that they started with half arts because it gives them an opportunity to like expand from there, right? Like they could do full arts in the future, things like that. So Yeah, I'm bullish. I'm interested to hear what you've been doing.
It's wild to me to think that I'm gonna sit here and say what I'm about to say about Lorcana, but the way that I feel about this game surprises everyone, I think. Everyone, maybe nobody, but to me it surprises me, and I think it surprised my fiance, it surprises everyone I've talked to because like I like Disney. I obviously went to Disneyland recently. I talked about that. I went last year too. We kind of do a yearly trip. That's more than a lot of people do with it. So I guess you could say I am a Disney fan. I just never really identified much as that, and like Disney isn't an IP that I'm like, oh, Disney or death, It's like I'm a hardcore I'm a Disney adult. Like I would never say that. Like that's more like I have friends who are like that, and I know people exist who are like that, but it's not really me. So like you and I talked about it, Lorcana, it's just I thought it was gonna be overprinted. I thought they were gonna be you know, every gas station there's gonna be a Disney pack sitting there. I thought that nobody would want it because why would Disney people like who like plushies and the parks and movies and stuff want a card game, which is so like 90s? But then again, like the 90s are really in, and card games are really in still because of TCGs and stuff. And I was smoking something when I was thinking all that through because my math was not adding up. Because as we have seen, I don't think you did anything wrong. I actually disagree with what you said a little bit earlier when you said that now is the perfect time to be buying Lorcana. I think now is one of the worst times to be buying Lorcana
Because
potentially.
it's so hyped.
Yeah, just depending on
Okay.
your intentions with it, really. Like, so I think you might be right. It might be the best time to be buying like right now or 2 weeks ago or even a month ago when it first released early to stores because the way it released, the stores that got it, the game stores got it 2 weeks or 3 weeks earlier than the actual like Walmart's, Target, or general public. So there was a soft release, and that was already after prices had skyrocketed because everyone's allocations got cut. Boxes were about 260, 275 bucks when that release happened, and they were going up at the time. And people were mad that they were being scalped for like 250 at their local game stores, and then online it was going for a little more. But price of boxes are close to $500 now for booster boxes of the set. There's only 24 boosters in a booster box of Lorcana. That puts booster packs at more than $20+ per pack in the booster box. And so when you have booster packs that much
So
of a
wait, really
game,
quick. So like if I can find it at like Target or whatever, is it just like a snap all of it, like buy
yes,
all the
yes,
okay.
you buy
Yeah,
all of it if you can. If they're gonna have limits most likely, but literally you'd be a fool not to buy all the Lorcana because here's the thing about Lorcana that is known. There is not going to be a LGS restock or a real restock or reprint until January or February. Before that time, there's another set, a new set, a second set, as you've implied, that comes out that will also suffer the same problem that the first set had, which was underprinting due to the under they didn't realize the demand would be as high as it would because it's a new company, Ravensburger, they didn't know. And so they addressed it formally before the release, saying that there was not going to be a release, a reprint, or there was going to be a small reprint, but not a very substantial one. They since have redacted that and remanded the statement and said now there is going to be a substantial reprint, but it's not going to come until after the second set comes out. So that implies the second set will have the same problems the first set has, and possibly the third set too. So that leaves us in a situation where in the near future, when the game is first most hyped and most in demand, you're gonna have the most amount of people disappointed by high prices and the inability to get the product. And then on the other hand, when the game is finally being put into play and it's in the third set, you're gonna get who knows how much product that's going to get dumped back onto the market. That a lot of these players and a lot of the people who then just threw their hands up in the air in the first, the second, the third set and paid secondary prices, the scalper prices for these cards, are going to be very rudely awakened to what happens when reprints are dumped into a market sort of haphazardly by a company that doesn't understand like supply and demand and what that will do to secondary prices. Because I guarantee Ravensburger is thinking more about getting their product into the hands of their customers than they're thinking about what dumping that product would do to the secondary market when they get that into the hands of their customers. But
What's smart, really, really quick, like it's so smart that they had it at Disneyland too. Like Pokemon, yeah, you can still get it at like Target and Walmart and stuff like that, but just having it at the park is because there's so many people that are going to Disneyland, so many like families with kids, stuff like that, that if the product's like reasonably priced, it's just free advertising. I mean, dude, even at like some sports games, it's taken a while. Like now the Fanatics is sort of taken over like the sports, licenses and stuff like that. They're starting to put like more product other than just jerseys. Like they're actually putting product at these games. Like you can buy cards at the games,
that's really
which
cool.
which is a no-brainer, but it's
Because
like
you can open the
Disney's
packs and have them sign it. Yeah.
exactly. But like Disney's doing it out the gate, and it's just it like yeah, I don't know. Like that to me gives me like a bullish outlook that I
You
mean
need more
if
reason to
they're
be bullish too, because what you just said, I want to add to that a little bit while we're right there. Because here's what sold out first. They had two products at Disneyland that they were selling. They were selling one that had just booster packs in it, 4 packs. It's called a gift set, and it had like a big oversized promo and dice and what you need to kind of, it's like a mini ETB. It has 4 instead of 8 packs, and then oversized cards instead of a little promo. But okay, so there was that. And then there were starter decks that just have the starter deck and one booster pack. You know what sold out and what everyone got the limit of?
starter deck, I'm guessing,
Holy crap, dude.
which
When
is
I
the
went there,
complete opposite for Pokemon. Like you can't give away V battle decks and all that
people
other
want to
BS.
play the game, man. People,
Yeah.
families, kids, they want the game. They want to play the cards, and they probably like the cards too. But like, it's introducing trading card games to a whole subset that never were introduced to Pokemon. And Pokemon is their parents' thing, but Lorcana is going to be their thing. So if it continues on, if the game Ravensburger can get the game under control, not reprint, not make the balance issue with a TCG just go out of control and have the balance, because Dragon Ball Super just recently had to do a reset of the TCG, and I believe Dragon Ball, the whatever the TCG associated with it, they're doing another reset, I believe, and it has to do with their power scaling in the TCG and how it's just gotten ridiculous. And Magic the Gathering over the years has had such a hard time, a delicate balance of trying to balance their game because it spans so many years that if Lorcana can just do a smidgen of a good job holding that game's balance so that it can continue on down the road, it really, I believe now, has a chance of potentially breaking into one of the big three and becoming a big four, with Lorcana being at the helm potential or win the top three even. Because they
Yeah,
could ruin it, but anyway, sorry. That I just wanted to tell you that the theme deck sold out at
no,
Disneyland
no, that's
before, and I thought that might make you even more bullish because that's insane to me. When I learned that, I had a couple days of processing time I had to take.
yeah, no, well, that was like I remember I did like a live a long time ago because Jeff Wilson, like the sports card investor dude, did like a video like on a podcast talking about how Pokemon needs to watch out because here comes Lorcana and all this stuff. And so I kind of talked about Lorcana on the live, and one of my things that I brought up was like if Disney puts its full weight behind Lorcana, like it could go crazy. And so seeing that out the gate, they're having it at the parks. To me, like one of the things I brought up was like, worlds in Pokemon is like all these different locations and they set up and they do different stuff. It's gonna be in Hawaii this year or next year, I guess. But I was like, well, what if they did worlds at like a Disney park and like you could win like a season pass or like a year pass or a lifetime pass to like, I mean, dude, that's insane. You know what and like it's seen, I mean, if they're already having like obviously you don't want to get too ahead of yourself or whatever, but it's like, dude, if they're already like putting the product, making sure that it's available at the parks, to me, that signals that like Disney is taking this seriously and this could be a big deal. I'm not super on the competitive side of any TCG, but I think if this becomes a game that really grows and they get like a good sized player base and stuff like that and really promote these events, like it could be massive, man. Like it really could, So we'll see what happens, but yeah,
Legitimate
I'm definitely
demand for
bullish.
it. That's what it is. We haven't seen this type of legitimate demand for something, I think, in a long time. There's a lot of speculative demand. There's a lot of like demand that gets sort of overhyped and then falls off. But like this is genuine demand. And it does sort of work into a little bit of why the graded prices, like you said, are so obtuse compared to the raw prices. It's because like a lot of the people who are in the Lorcana groups and who are pulling the cards, they don't grade cards. And let me tell you something about Lorcana cards that's very interesting that I learned. I think they're incredibly good quality. So if you ever get those cards like in a board game, the decks of cards that they include that are like the cards that have like the things you read, and they're like really nice usually. They're like nice quality cards. It reminds me of like that kind of card stock a little bit, but it's like solid. So like the
What
card
TCG would you say it's closest to? Like, what would you say it most closely resembles? Like, is it more like a MetaZoo stock? Is it more
no,
like
no, no, not at
no?
all. It's like a thicker stock. So like I would say it's more like Magic the Gathering, or even like it's a bigger than Magic the Gathering. It feels like maybe not bigger, but it feels a little thicker, like old
Do the
Magic the
cards
Gathering
come like
was.
clean? Like, is there a whitening out of the pack, or is it they're pretty clean?
So here's what I found with the quality of the Lorcana cards. I find that they feel very, very high quality. The gloss, the sheen is beautiful on them. There's not a lot of micro scratching or denting or anything. There is, it seems to be some small cutting, fraying issues, as if like not as bad as we saw in like the Shining Fates or Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet block with like the character rares, not even close, but a little bit. So there's a slight bit, but it all is happening on mostly the foiling. And also, it seems to be there's a lot of chipping and denting, not on the normal card stock, but on the foils, the foil versions, because it seems that whatever they're using to put the cold foiling on, when they're stamping that part or that layer on the card, it's not lining up with some of the edges, and there are little tiny bits and pieces. They're getting little tiny little chips, almost like you see in the ARs from 151 Japanese. You saw some of the chipping on the really nice ultra rares and the SIRs in the Japanese 151. Sort of similar with what I see in Lorcana foiling, but not in the normal cardstock. And so I've seen a lot of really, really beautiful cards that are just going to be held down to sevens and sixes at PSA because of a chip or a dent in the foiling. So that's going to incredibly, and not only that, because a lot of the cards are being used to play because there's not enough of them and too many, and people want to play it and there's not enough to go around. People aren't even considering grading really at this point because they're so in demand for that. And the people who are considering grading don't know how grading works typically because they're not traditional Pokemon people. They're just collectors, maybe, or people who saw that Pokemon cards are graded. They're like, oh, maybe I should grade these Lorcana cards because I like them. And it's my thing. Disney's my thing. Maybe not Pokemon, but they're going to try grading for the first time. I'm into these Lorcana Facebook groups, and a lot of people, they say, hey, I pulled this card. I want to potentially get it graded. How do I do that? So, you saw a lot of that in 2020 and 2021 in Pokemon. You don't see it as often anymore, but it was in Lorcana now. So,
Oh, wait, really, really quick. I
yeah.
just wanted to say I just looked up the pop report for Lorcana. Just PSA, 730 total graded across all grades. 528 total tens, 174 total nines, but the highest pop 10 I've seen so far is Mickey Brave Little Taylor, and it's only pop 17, but then it's pop 12 in a 9.
It's a
So it's like a
non-hollow.
no, this one's the full or oh no, yeah. I'm looking at the foil. I'm looking at the foil,
Oh,
but
okay,
it's
because there's a D23 Brave Little Taylor too.
yeah.
That's a non-hollow,
So
I believe. Or no, the
pop
D23 one is a hollow. The Gen Con one's a non-hollow, I think.
okay, yeah. So it's pop 12 in a 9, pop 17 in a 10. So like kind of close to like a 40-60 sort of situation, which is definitely a lot harder, I would argue, than or at least,
And
the
you have to
numbers
consider
show
those
that
are the good copies being sent too.
yeah. So it's crazy that the game is so big that the cards are so expensive. Oh, here we go. Elsa's a little bit higher. Elsa's pop 62, it looks like.
So
But
I've opened less than 30 packs of Lorcana in my experience of it because we got with our gift sets at Disneyland, we got two each, and so that's 8 packs each. That's 16. And I had two restocks at my local Target that I got like four each. So we've opened like between the two of us about 30 or so packs, my fiance and I, of Lorcana. So that's my very, very limited experience with it. But I will say that I bought a lot of singles and I bought in some packs that I haven't opened that I have sealed. But I'm now comfortable enough to say that I think that a lot of the PSA pricing is going to be warranted for a short period of time because it's going to be harder to hit because there are cards that I pulled straight out of the pack that I just know I can't send. And so
oh
I'm
yeah,
going,
really quick, going to you opening, like what are pull rates? Like
oh,
is it
yeah.
is
So
it
it's
one out of
cool.
every two packs you're getting a foil, or like what does that look like?
Packs are not weighable. I was really worried that they were going to be weighable. And so I weighed all the packs that I was about to open, and the heaviest packs that I had and the lightest packs, there was literally no difference. Now, I didn't pull an enchanted. So the enchanted ones are like but I went on a deep rabbit hole online and YouTube and everything and tried to find someone who did, lots of people did pull them, and a lot of them were pulled out of weights that were far under the weights that I had logged on mine. So they are not weighable. They're definitely not weighable because every pack has a foil in it. It's crazy though because like the enchanted is an extra foil in the pack. So if you get a foil, and you get an enchanted, you would think it would weigh more. But there's some way somehow, maybe they're code cards that they have because these are the code cards on the other side. There's a it's like a puzzle with four pieces that makes like the Brave Little Taylor Mickey. And so there's a QR code on the other side that helps you. I think I don't know where it takes you, but maybe it takes you learning how to play the game or something. But
Is there
maybe
a
that has
digital?
something to do with the weight variation because I personally, I've looked online and I've done deep dives, and some people have said they can weigh them, but it doesn't look to be weighable in a traditional sense. In that maybe you could increase your odds, but at the same time, there's not enough data. The data I know is that 1 out of 96 packs is supposed to be the enchanted rate. So I'm not nearly at the rate that I should have gotten an enchanted at yet. So I don't feel bad about it. But that's roughly every four-ish, 4 to 5 booster boxes. So like one per case, basically, is what I'm hearing for the enchanted. The lowest cost enchanted. Oh, so the rarities in Lorcana goes as follows. You have a common, you have uncommon, you have rare, you have super rare, and then you have legendary, and then you have what's the alternate art rarity, the really, really shiny, the like full arts that you see everyone, the really expensive ones that are kind of going around the internet. Those are called enchanted, and that's the ones that are 1 in 96. If you're thinking of Pokemon terms, you want to equivalent with like alternate arts, sort of, because they're the same cards that are in the set, the best cards, but that's made in another art style that's more desirable. The Elsa is going upwards to $1,000. I've seen sales of 800 to 850, almost $900 for that card. Raw. Now the PSA 10s of that card, they're like over $2,000 typically. So it's pretty crazy the returns on some of those high end cards. And then they go all the way down to like $200 for like the lower ones like Maui or Aladdin or Genie. For some reason they're not well loved, but Still big high
They're still
graded premium.
expensive though. I'm looking at prices right now
Yeah,
and
still
like
all close to
yeah,
700 to a little over 1,000 is where all the others are sitting in PSA 10s. You could literally buy any enchanted card right now and grade it, and if you got a PSA 10, you're gonna make over $500. And that is insane to me. That is insane to me. And that is, it sounds like free tendies. And so, yeah, have I been buying a couple here and there? Sure. Am I in the biddings of a couple here and there currently as we speak? Sure. So I'm not going to out myself here. Yeah, sure. I'm buying enchanteds right now. Should you be buying? I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor. Table flip, do your own advice or do your own research. But is it something that people are doing? Probably. Yeah. But the thing is, PSA is slow as hell. So you're really
bro. I'm looking the Elsa, like it's already expensive raw. Like the Elsa, let's see what the lowest list
you're gonna spend $1,000 on an Elsa if you're trying to buy it
bro.
raw, a good one.
So,
Yeah.
so it's well, it's 700 is lowest listed on TCG Player, but there's an auction on eBay right now. It has 21 hours left, so it ends tomorrow. It's at $1,825 already. That is crazy,
That's the
dude.
10,
That's
correct? Yeah.
insane. Yeah, PSA 10. But that woo! And then the other else is like $30, and it looks like there's a 499 or best offer listed. So like, dude, those
Yeah, that one
markets
sells for
are nutty.
$500, the foil version of the legendary tier, not the enchanted tier. So like here's the thing, man. I don't even see the common foils in PSA 10 selling for under $100 typically. And that's like of like Goofy, of like Jafar, of like, low tier characters. If you're talking Elsa, Maleficent, if you're talking like Rapunzel, like you're talking some of the Stitch, popular characters from the IP, you're not gonna look on the lower end, and they're not as easy to grade tens as I think people would like to believe. They're gonna get a lot of nines. There's little tiny whitening, little tiny fraying here and there on some of them. A lot of them, like I said, people don't know how to grade, so they'll just send them in. But I do believe that there will be a market collector wise for those slabs of nines for collectors because I don't think they're gonna print enough. I really don't think that they're going to ever be able to get behind or get back in front of the first set, unfortunately, unless they really continue to print long after when they should. That's the only way that they're going to get it under control. And it's going to take a long time. So I feel
Even the
comfortable.
non-hollow Elsas, dude, are selling for $100 in PSA 10. That's crazy.
I mean, it's incredible. It really is incredible to see the strength of the market because, like, sure, we should have been able to predict it, and lots of people did predict it. You even predicted it. I sat here and quaffed at you essentially while you did, and I'm over here like enjoying it more than I thought I would. Like, I feel that like when I go to Target to get my necessities or things, I now look again in the section that I had not looked in for years. Because like ever since I got distribution, I haven't looked at the Pokemon section besides just looking to see like, oh, what do they have right now just for like my own like information, not because I want to buy it, because I want to see what other people are buying, but now I look every time in the section looking for Lorcana just because I want it to open. Like I said, I have sealed packs that I'm saving to not open to sell in person so that I can sell it to some people, probably $20 a pack, which is 25 even. It's like that's kind of what they're going for, which is ridiculous. But they're worth more if I open them for the singles inside. So you get two rares in every pack, and you get a foil in every single one. The foil can be any rarity because every single card in the set has a foil and a non-foil version. So you can get a common foil, an uncommon foil, a rare foil. Think like Pokemon, how reverses, except the legendaries, the super rares, and the rares, they're all half arts. So they all have just a different rarity symbol, but they're harder to get depending on what rarity they are. But they're not a different art style like an ultra rare in Pokemon is. So they also have reverse. So like for example, this card, the Elsa, she's a non-hollow legendary, which is the highest rarity besides the enchanted. This card in a non-hollow is worth like $50, 50 or $60. This is the one you're seeing as a PSA 10 for $100. So raw, it's worth a lot of money. This is probably a PSA 10 version of one, so that's why it's in the card saver. Same thing with like this, the Rapunzel. This is like a $50 card, non-holo, legendary. The holo version is probably closer to 75 to 85, maybe a little more. And then if you talk about PSA 10s, that's a whole nother ballpark there. So like I personally am going to be grading Lorcana because I like grading. I think I'm naturally pretty good at it because of my experience in the TCG, Pokemon, Magic, the other things like MetaZoo, things I've graded. I do think I know where PSA looks for their grades for the most part. So maybe better than the average guy, maybe not better than someone like you or my other friends that do a better job than I think I do, but I think I'm better than the average fellow or the average dude. So I'm going to probably use that to my advantage and grade Lorcana because I think there's going to be a lot of people who just are getting into Lorcana who will do that, but not because they're good at it, just because they're interested. So I think I'll outcompete the market in that regard. I also feel comfortable with the time frame that we're going to be given because of the fact that there wasn't enough printed and they've already stated when the reprint will come, sort of when it's going to come out. So we have a set amount of time that you can, things are only going to get better for pricing. So like it's like a time bomb that
Well, and the
you
margin is so like, dude, they would have to massacre it with a reprint to get these. Like, dude, the margin is so fat that like even if they reprinted it, it doesn't matter. Like, you're still gonna make like a good amount of money if you're hitting 10. So like, yeah,
it
it's
seems like a
nuts, dude.
no-brainer, and it also feels like something that people would want to collect if it does do well. Like go back and like, okay, cool, we played the game with the non-holos, we learned it, we got all that out of our system, but like now I want the holos just for a binder or even to collect. And like imagine a PSA 10 holo set. There's over 200 cards in the set. It's and every single one of them is somebody's favorite Disney character. Somebody, it's just like Pokemon, but worse. Like somebody's favorite is Simba. Sure, the Simba isn't very expensive. Like it's one of the least expensive ones you could get. But I guarantee you there are more Simba fans than there are Larvitar fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There,
Last thing I'll say really quick too is to your point about the QR code, I just looked. They have an app which has like I guess it says they have like a lore counter which shows like something to do with the
it's
game,
how to
I'm
play the
guessing.
game. I learned
Yeah.
how to play the game, but I haven't played it with another human. But I know the rules. Lore is you're trying to get to 20 lore. That's what you're trying. You
Okay.
kind of quest to get there.
Yeah. So dude, I mean, like I know that like with Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, them doing I don't know I think it's like what MTG Arena, and then with Yu-Gi-Oh they came out with Master Duel, and Master Duel was like super, a big deal for Konami and Yu-Gi-Oh in general. So I'm guessing since they already have an app this early that you can have a card catalog on, and then you can use to have like, your lore counter and stuff like that. I imagine they're gonna add like a mobile client for people to be able to play this game digitally. And dude, at that point, it's like game over. Like it's just crazy, dude. I'm so mad at myself for sleeping on this. And like I should have been sticking money aside. I should have been going. But if I can get to a card show here in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna be hunting down some Lorcana trying to get a hold of it. So
Foils. Look for the PSA 10 quality foils. I do think that even if they reprint it to the ground, I think that the fact that they're harder to probably get the 10s and on the foils and people will want them only in the foils, I think that's going to be the only thing, if anything, would probably hold. So that's personally what I'm doing. So that's what I would say as a piece of friendly advice maybe to people. Foils are really nice too. They're a cold foil, so if you're familiar with the flesh and blood foiling style, where it's a really classy, it's not like overly done, like in your face, kind of like the Dragon Ball or like the Pokemon style, the full arts where it's like really shiny and all these textures. It's really subtle. Like for example on Rapunzel, like her hair is shiny gold and like the rest is a really sheen, cool, cold foil shine. Like her eyes like have a beautiful shine. Like it's really nice touching to the foiling, and it's very intentional, but it's not overdone. So I really enjoyed that, and I didn't know it looked that good until seeing it in person because I thought it looked like a flat hollow, kind of like some Japanese reverses do in Pokemon. but it's much more than that. It's more like a texture cold foil. It's a very, very high quality, very nice foiling.
When I'm looking really quick on stock on TCG Player, there is 40 listings for booster boxes, and I'm sure a certain percentage of those are scams or fake or whatever. And then there's 20 cases, so 80 total booster boxes in the cases. So there's only, if you count all of them as being real listings, there's only 120 boxes listed on TCG Player. That's crazy, dude. That's insane. Like
There's
that's way
not
too
enough.
much.
The fact of the matter is just there's not enough. That's what it is. Yeah.
That's what 20, yeah, that's 20 cases of a Pokemon set, which is like nothing.
That's
That's like one small shop's out. Like that's crazy, dude. That's oh man, I've been sleeping. And the cards look good. Like I'm scrolling through looking at these and like the arts are pretty, I mean, it's subjective, but like it's not too kiddie. It
no.
like, like these are it fits well with sort of like the mystical fantasy TCG sort of theme. Yeah, man, I'm bullish. I'm bullish. You got me hyped.
I was not, and now I am, because like after experiencing it and kind of going, so like I'm excited that I am going to dedicate pretty much like a whole case at the next show that I'm going to be at to Lorcana. So I have my two cases on my I'm gonna have a binder, but I also have some higher end singles. I'm gonna probably put those in my other case and try to dedicate a whole case to Lorcana. So I'm half and half Lorcana and Pokemon 151. And that's just gonna be so crazy. Like just literally the two hypest things. 151, Lorcana, and then maybe a couple things extra. But like I'm excited about the end of this month because I have two shows coming up that right after the release. Like I heard people were already selling English 151 at Collecticon. Just damn it. Damn it. People. What well, you can't have nice things. Rattle Pokemon was at Collecticon in Charlotte. Where were you, bro? Where were you? Why were you not in your Officer Ginny outfit, literally arresting these Pokemon criminals? Anyway, I'm done complaining about the early sales. That's all I'll say about it. Is I did hear that, and it made my blood boil just a little bit. But I'll be selling mine this Saturday, this Sunday, whenever I do my local show after the release, like everyone else should. But I'm so hyped for 151, man. Have you been keeping up a little bit on the English release? I know you do more on the Japanese side because that does make sense, but have you been at all looking at like have you heard about the God packs for 151
Yeah, I
English?
heard that they're doing those in English. I am a sealed investor now. I pre-ordered a UPC from Best Buy, so I'm kind of a big deal. But I don't know if I'm going to open it on the channel or hold it or whatever. I mean, it's got Mewtwo. I think it's got like 3 exclusive cards in it. So I don't know. Like I might end up holding it or whatever and just, for fun to see where it goes. But dude, 151 is killing it. Like I went super hard on singles in Japanese, like buying them, like especially the Alakazam. I really like that Alakazam art a lot. And felt it was pretty cheap compared to some of the other stuff. So I bought a lot of Alakazams. It's just a good set, man. Like, and I think people have been complaining about Scarlet and Violet. There's literally nothing to complain about with 151. Like it's and like the regular, not even the subset, the ARs, SARs, all that stuff, but like the regular part of the set, the arts are good,
I
dude. Like the
love the
arts are
Ditto. The
good.
Ditto is so good, like the Hollow
Yeah,
Ditto.
like the Arcanine's good, the Lapras is good. There's a Scyther that looks like it's
Yeah.
nice, man. Like it's a good set. I can see people wanting to binder set, collect it, get all 100. Because I mean, even in base set, you don't have all 151 Pokemon, but you have that with this set. Like you can literally get the entire first generation. So I think that that's kind of unique, and I am kind of bummed that they're not. It sounds like they're not maybe going to do the Master Ball and the reverse stuff for English, but regardless, I think people are going to want to binder this set maybe more than like any other set that's ever come out, just because of the dynamic. I mean, Pokemon's never done that before, right? Like they've never done a set that's like I mean, it's called the 151. Like it's literally about the entirety of the first generation. So yeah, I think it's going to do well. The Japanese prices are still really strong, both on the singles and on the graded cards. So it's been good. It's been good to be selling those for sure. And I'm hyped on English. I hope the print quality is good. I hope it's like a celebration situation to where like they know that this is going to be the set that people are going to go crazy for. And so maybe they take a little extra time making sure that the print quality is a little bit nicer. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, and especially on those exclusive cards like the Mewtwo, which is already really popular, and that's a set pull. Like you can get that out of the set in Japanese. So I think that being a UPC promo, I think that card's going to do really well. Snorlax, Squirtle, same thing. And yeah, I think the Charizard, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Charizard starts out at around like 400, 500 in a PSA 10, depending on the print quality and pull rates. But um, I want to say that card's like 280, 300 in Japanese right now, and Japanese has been out for a couple months. So I wouldn't be surprised if in English that was like a 400, $500 card in a 10. We'll see. We'll see. And then if you pull a God pack, dude, it's like good night. You know what I mean? Like you're, yeah, I mean, it'll be insane. So I think it's the juice that the market needs right now. I'm honestly not like mad at the market. Like I think that every set has at least had this next one that's coming out. Like in Japanese, it's going to be Raging Surf, and then I know in English it's going to be Paradox Rift. But there's only like two cards so far that I'm even like these are cool in Raging Surf, which is kind of a bummer but I think 151 is going to be the juice that the English Pokemon market needs to kind of like push into the holiday season. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like I before this podcast, I had about an hour long conversation with my distributor, and we were talking a lot about 151 and how the market was a little softer on the earlier Scarlet and Violet stuff, but a lot better on this more um the newer era, not necessarily the last set, the Charizard set, but more so 151. And he was saying that they printed a lot, but he surprisingly didn't get enough of it. So I'm excited about the whole 151 era because I think that the personally I haven't interacted with the Japanese a lot because I think the prices are ridiculous. So you already know how I kind of feel about Japanese, so to speak. But I I'm excited to be able to open it because I'm going to have it available in English in my own language to really enjoy it how I like to, because I agree with you. I think it's the first set in a long time that people are going to really want to binder, because bindering like the original 151 has never been able to do it before unless you made your own set where you pick the art and you mismatched, and like people do that a lot, but like the modern collector hasn't had the opportunity to do that. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be a huge success. We're seeing that on all the prices of all of the different products that are coming out on TCG Player. Even like booster bundles are the most egregious of all of the different things, because we knew this was going to be the case because booster bundles are going to be the most in demand because they were the best price. They were supposed to be 20, $25 for 6 packs. They are upwards of $50 to $60 for a booster bundle, for one booster bundle now, which is almost $8 or $9 a pack if you just break it down. And the cost of what you don't even get a promo in that thing. You get literally nothing but the packs. And it's crazy they're going for that much because they're in demand and they didn't print enough of them. But I think that they will reprint this set just like they did with Crown Zenith. We're getting more Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes, which nobody asked for, but we are getting them. And so 151 is going to be
Wait,
different.
really quick to the point on your distributor, are they raking you over the coals on pricing or are they being
No.
pretty fair?
Yeah,
Okay.
so ever since, it's interesting because I've complained a lot on this podcast about my pricing from distributors, and especially since like my distributor got like purchased by another party, they had to increase the prices a little bit more because that coincided with when Pokemon increased the prices of everything. And I was expecting a 10% price hike, but it was a little more than that for me because it was just a bad situation. But I've been very public about my situation. They've actually gotten a lot better because I've cooled off my buying over the last few sets quite a bit, and I'm not the only one who has done so. And so they've had to find ways to adjust their pricing. And so each set progressively has gotten a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And now with 151, they're not gouging at all. They're literally, it's gotten lower, and it's even lower than it ever was before. Even it was lower than my pricing for um the Paldea Evolve, basically, and it's a specialty set, so it's pretty good pricing. Like, I didn't buy into the last Charizard set. I just bought more crowns in it instead. That's what I said I was gonna do, and that's what so I didn't buy any of that set. So I don't know how they would have done on pricing for that. Probably even better, honestly, because it was hard to sell. But my relationship is such with my distributor that I have a personal, like, we talk. It's not like an email chain. It's not like a representative that changes ever. It's like I talk to the owner of the company who's the distributor, because we've talked for a long time. He asked me what I think about current sets coming out. I give him some advice on ordering sometimes if he needs it. Like, for example, he asked for the next set if you should go heavy on it, and I was like, maybe not as heavy as we went for 151, probably. I said, think of it more like a Paldea Evolve situation. He's like, oh, okay, thank you, I appreciate it. So that's the type of advice that I give about, because he's an older guy. He likes Pokemon, but he doesn't keep up with all the spoilers and everything. But I'm up on the Japanese stuff, so he uses that. He uses me for that, and then because of that, I can kind of, he helps me out. Like, he set aside extra cases of 151 for me at a price that's lower than my older prices ever were before. And he knows they're going for higher. So it's like, good things happen sometimes. And it's nice to have relationships, like I've said many times before. So
Do you think that part of that is because he is anticipating like a decent sized restock, or do you think that he's like just being a good guy? Like, what do you think?
I know that in this case, there's not more restocks coming besides the second wave of like the UPCs, the Alakazam boxes, the Zapdos, the other boxes that are, and then the other products that are releasing in October, I believe. Other than that, he specifically said there are no reprints announced for it, and he has what he has, and he had allocated all he had for Amazon because he's a big Amazon seller. That's his main shtick. So he's a huge retailer, a huge seller, but he doesn't have a lot of small accounts, and he doesn't take on new accounts either. I've been grandfathered in. He's told me he has less than 10 accounts that are like me. So I'm one of the few that he takes on, which I feel lucky about, obviously. But because of his large ordering with Amazon, he sometimes oversells on things. So it goes the same way in my direct. So he didn't oversell, even though he knew it was a big demand, just because he did his accounting right and everything. So I think that's why it accounts for why he was able to set extras aside for me. Because, for example, in other releases, like I sometimes, I don't want to say I get screwed, but like there have been times when it's eaten into my like allocation a little bit. He's like, I know that I was going to set 2 cases or 3 cases aside from you. Here's a case for now, and on the next reprint, I'll get you the next one or whatever, next 2 or 3. And he's like, sorry, I oversold a little bit. The Amazon bought more than they said they would, and I understand that too. Like, that's the price you pay for working with the beast. He calls Amazon the beast. He has to feed the beast, is what he calls it, whenever something bad like that happens. He's like, dude, I'm really sorry. It's kind of like his excuse he uses, but I get it. It's not like an excuse. It's reality. It's just reality.
Really quick, do you do any of the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes? Like, do you buy any? I know we kind of talked with PK about that a little bit, but I was just I'm looking up 151 prices right now for those. But I looked at Crown Zenith when we were talking about that, and Crown Zenith Elite Trainer box, the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box cases are selling for $400 to $500, which seems nuts. And then the one, well, this is, maybe they don't have the Pokemon Center. They don't have, or I guess at least on TCG Player, they don't have Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box cases yet, but they have just the Elite Trainer boxes, and it looks like those are selling for 160, and there's only 2 listed. So like, I don't do any of that stuff, dude. But what do those retail for? 49.99?
Yeah, they're like
Dude,
no,
we're
55, I think.
sleeping maybe. Like, what the hell? This is crazy.
I have long since, you know my stance on Elite Trainer boxes. I am not fronting. I am not. I am leaving that money on the table willingly, and I am aware of it. One day, the day will come when that tower of cards will come crumbling down. Those cardboard boxes are gonna crumble in on themselves and just collapse and destroy all the cards that are
You
inside
think
of
so?
them and the investors
I
in
mean,
those cards.
at least the Crown Zenith one like looks cooler. It's like Elite Trainer Box Plus. It looks like it's the bigger size a little bit. The art's a little bit different and it's
Aren't
kind
we
of cool. But
past
like
displaying Elite Trainer boxes to like
I
for
was
like
never on display, but it's just I'm looking at these prices and I'm just like, dude, people are this is crazy to me. And like I know I've seen so many videos of people talking about the 151, like the Pokemon Center, they like put it up, it gets sold out immediately. I don't know, man.
like
Like I'm just saying, it's kind of
I
wild.
get that in the pandemic it was cool to like go to Target and buy all the ETBs and then put them behind you, stack them up one by one and get all of them and have them in a huge wall and then put it on Instagram and like that's a flex and stuff. But like I thought we were past that. I mean, I feel like we are, but then when you tell me those prices and then I hear like these other Pokemon YouTubers making these videos about ooh, Pokemon Center UPCs, and PC comes on the pod, and then PK comes on the podcast, and goes like, "Well, there's those Pokemon Center ETBs you always talk about." That so I don't know why he got a southern accent there, but it's just one of those things that I'm gonna be yelling into the sky about until the day that it isn't, and then I'm be saying I told you so, and you're never gonna hear. Every content I'm ever gonna make is gonna have somewhere it's going to talk about all that time that I told you guys how the Elite Trainer boxes are not good investable product. If you're putting money, equivalent money into a Pokemon product, and you can choose between Pokemon Center ETB and a booster box or a booster box equivalent or a case of booster bundles in a holiday set equivalent like 151, why would you not go for the more bang for your buck pack where you're getting more of everything? The only reason the Pokemon, I don't know. Anyway, I'll be done with it. I could go on for ages, but for now, I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong for now until I'm not. I will admit it when I'm wrong. I'll admit when I know I'm wrong, and I know I'm wrong now, but I won't be wrong in the future. And that's what I'm saying.
I think with the 151, if you can pick it up for MSRP, because I would think that they would have booster bundles at like Target
Yeah,
and
50
Walmart.
bucks, sure. 50 bucks, fine. But
Well, no, I'm not saying buying it at 50. I'm saying like if you can get those at MSRP, to me that would be because it like there's
oh,
no
I
booster
thought you meant the
box.
Elite Trainer box. You said booster bundles. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
on board
the
now. My
boost
bad.
because
My
I
bad.
just feel like for 6 packs, no filler, they're
Yeah.
easy to ship. Um, that might be a pretty good performing. I don't know. Like it's tough, but like if I saw them at Target, out of the products that would be at Target, just because like ETBs are big, they're clunky, they're expensive to ship. People are gonna complain like, oh, there's a hole in the corner of the plastic. This is resealed and stuff like it's like I don't want to deal with that. So like if I was gonna invest in 151 sealed product in English, I think I would just buy the booster bundles because they're small. Like I said, they're easy to ship. There's no filler. There's no BS. 6 packs. The entry price is probably going to be pretty decent. I would just stock up on those because people are going to be wanting to rip them. I don't know. Like I think that would probably be the best.
I think
Um,
that's the most likely to get reprinted as well
yeah, that's probably true. That's
because
probably
it's
true.
got the least packaging. It's the most compact. It's
Yeah,
just the packs. And
logistically,
so
yeah.
I would agree with you if you got it at a really good price that but if you're paying the current price of like 50 plus dollars and it's a speculation kind of thing, I would say maybe think otherwise. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it was Mason who first said something about that product, and then very, very shortly after, I think we had a podcast, and then I talked about how that and the UPC are my two favorite 151 products. And then that's where Mason and I think got into it a little bit about the UPCs. And I just want to say right now, Mason, I was right. Just so you know, you were wrong and I was right. Look at the price of ultra premium collections, what they're selling for now. Tell me you don't wish you ordered a million of them. Tell me. Go on, tell me. I want you to dead face tell me you wish you didn't order more. and that's because you're
Well, we'll
bearish,
see.
and that's it.
We'll see what they sell for on release. But I do agree with you. Like, I think what happened was people got burnt. And here's the thing: like, I haven't looked at prices of Charizard UPCs in a while, but I think people, it's so weird because Charizard UPC has never not, unless you bought for like $200, Charizard UPC has never not been a plus EV product if you just open it. It's not a good sealed investment right now, or I mean, I haven't checked it in a while, but I think so many people just got burnt on that that they're like, oh, UPC is like a 4 letter word. I don't want to deal with that. But dog, like,
The best product.
yeah, I mean, well, it's got the Mew in it, and the Mewtwo, and like those people, like, dude, that Mewtwo card is sick, and people like it. In Japanese, it's doing really well. It's kind of a bummer that it's exclusive, but at the same time, like, it just adds value to that product. And it's got the gold Mew, which people, it's weird. People don't really like the hyper rares right now, but people like the gold cards. So I think the gold Mew is going to do good. The gold
Yeah.
celebrations Mew did pretty good. So I don't know, man. Like, I think the UPC, I'm going to sit on mine. I'm a hardcore sealed investor. I'm a Warren Buffett of English sealed. You know what I mean? Like, I got my one UPC coming from Best Buy because I pre-ordered from Best Buy, like a Timmy, cost basis, super, super not great. But yeah, I mean, it was just like, hey, they're out. I can
It's
just go to
less
Best
than what
Buy.
they're going for now, though.
Yeah, yeah, and like I don't, at the end of the day, it's like, and I think I have one booster box coming from Japan at some point because I did the you get, it was like a guaranteed if you
The
signed up.
lottery thing, or
Yeah,
yeah,
you got like one booster box. So at some point, I mean, it's been like 2 3 months now, but at some point that box is gonna be showing up. So I'll have one booster box in Japanese and a UPC. So Alex, watch out. I'm the new modern sealed investor guy here. You know what I
yeah.
mean? But I'm just bullish on that set, dude. Like, I think it's cool. I think it's got a lot of good cards in it, and I think a lot of the other sets are like race to the bottom with the modern cards. I think obviously prices are going to start high, drop off as people open it. But to me, it's going to be a set kind of like Celebrations that like doesn't go out of style. Like, people are going to constantly want it forever. You know what I mean? Like, Celebrations Charizard still really strong. Like, the classic collection in Celebrations has done really well. It's never not going to, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but like, it just feels like it's going to be a forever green type product just because of the nature of it. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's just kind of like my outlook on it right now. Like, no one's ever going to get bored of Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Mewtwo, Pikachu. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that they also added that element of it being God packs for the first time, literally the first time ever in English where you can get 3 hits out of a pack. That's like so cool and so insane. Like, that adds an element of chase that I think the English card TCG card goers haven't really experienced in a long time. And I hope that it's only for 151 that they do that for, to be honest. So that it's like, and it seems like it is only for the big three as well. So it's really cool that they added that little element. I think that adds a pack opening experience boost, to it. And then the Cosmos Hollow Energies, it may not be the reverse hollow Master Balls that everyone loves so much, because literally I've seen prices, most of the highest prices of in Japan from 151, they're not the SIRs, they're not the regular cards. They're the master balls of the variants of like the popular Pokemon like Gengar,
Pikachu and
Pikachu.
Gengar, yeah, they're dummy
Yeah.
expensive.
And I find that to be absurd in the most obscene way because I hate gimmicks. And that is to me the most gimmicky gimmick that I've ever seen of gimmicks. And people love it. Just put a couple little Mickey Mouse ears on the Pokeball Hollow, and you got a Master Ball here Hollow, and apparently people will pay thousands of dollars for them.
My thing,
So
really quick about the God packs, like, I think so. I want to say the first God packs they ever did was Shiny Star V. I might be wrong about that, but I want to say those might have been like some of the first God packs, but it was like random, right? Like, it was just like a bunch of, it was like you get a trainer card and like a Grim Snarl, and like it was just a
yeah.
bunch of random, like but it was, the whole pack was hits,
Hmm.
but it had no like direction to it, right? And then in V Star Universe they did the God pack to where you could only get these ARs out of a God pack. It was a set of 9. The whole pack was
That was nice. I like
yeah,
that.
and it had like the Pikachu and all the arts kind of worked in together. Like if you put them all in together, like 3 by 3, it made sort of like a big picture.
That was
So
the
that
coolest.
yeah, so like that's cool. And then now, obviously, with 151, they're doing Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur. So it's like, yeah, like it's thoughtful. It's like, okay, we're gonna do God packs, but when you hit a God pack, it's not just gonna be random stuff. It's gonna make sense to you. It's either like all the art's gonna work together, or it's gonna be Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, which makes sense, which is cool. It shows that they're not just like, oh, let's just add another rarity tier. Like they're being thoughtful about like what's a cool chase, and it helps for the opening experience, right? Like when people do like live streams or open packs on YouTube or something like that, it just looks good to hit Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur. Like that is a cool thing to watch rather than just like, oh, it's a bunch of random shiny cards of high rare. You know what I'm saying? So I hope they keep doing that moving forward. Not every set needs to have a God pack, but just as far as like being intentional with what comes out of a God pack, I hope they keep on doing that moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I think that they are getting a little better as the time goes on. The one thing I'm expecting from them that I don't think we've seen yet is it's not the God packs, but it is a higher tier of rarity. It's something more to chase. The God packs do give you something to chase, but I am expecting in the fifth or sixth set to be introduced to something that's a little just more there, a little more going on to it than just the SIR or whatever the highest chase is right now in the sets that are, it's not very hard to hit. And that's when it started doing that with Sword and Shield block. And that's when we started getting alternate arts from battle styles, and we started getting the VMAX alt arts, and then like those rarity tiers started increasing. And so then we got the gold alternate arts at Crowns in it, where they gave us the 4 gold alt arts. And so they haven't done shiny alternate arts yet. If there's a shiny set that's going to come out as a holiday set or a set around January, February, March, somewhere around there, I might venture to say that they may possibly introduce shiny alternate arts eventually. And that would be a pretty big thing because up until now, the only alternate arts we've ever gotten have been regular form Pokemon. They've never put a shiny, except for the Gyarados in the X and Y gold Gyarados alternate art, because that was specifically from that set Breakpoint. But other than that, and correct me if I'm wrong down below, chat, or comment section. We're not live streaming anymore. I always say chat, and I always try to, when I watch it back, I'm like, don't do that. Don't say chat anymore. You're not live streaming. In the comments down below, tell me if I'm wrong. Has there been an alternate art that was actually shiny and not just a regular form Pokemon that they've done so far besides that Gyarados? Because I can't think of one.
I think the closest, because like Machamp was kind of blue, so
Mm-mm.
that might be like the club, but
He
no.
wasn't shiny. No, 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 definitely
Okay.
not. That doesn't count. I'm gonna cut that one off. That
All
doesn't count. I
right.
don't
All
even
right.
try.
All right.
We're gonna get people canceling the podcast if we try to put that Machamp and shiny or something.
Yeah,
I've
people
already
take their
pushed hard
shiny
enough for
serious.
the Dark Venusaur. You know that card, the vintage Dark Venusaur. That is a shiny Venusaur. If I have ever seen one, I swear it is not just the lighting. Down below in the comments, I really want to hear what you guys think about that. The Dark Venusaur that came out as a web series in Japan, but it also came out as a promo best of series in English, is a shiny Venusaur. It has a yellow flower. He looks like purplish, kind of bluish, kind of like a shiny Venusaur does. He is shiny. I don't know what to tell you. They were doing a shiny, and they just never called it that. But it's one of my favorite cards because of that. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Do you want to talk a little bit about maybe? Do you feel like we've talked about 151 enough? Honestly, I think we're on the same page with it. We're both really surprised it's doing as well as it is, but also not surprised at the same time. You had the experience with Japanese, obviously, so you knew, but I just knew because 151, and we've been talking about it forever. We've beaten this thing dead with a stick. But do you want to talk about Whatnot a little bit and their recent changes that they've made as of recently, just to kind of circle back around to that? Because I actually really wanted to talk a little bit about that, and I completely forgot about it until just earlier in the podcast.
We can, but I have like 30 minutes left because my power went out like a few days ago for the neighborhood, and I got a call earlier saying that they're gonna do some sort of like update to the power line. So at 2 p.m. for an hour, my power is gonna be out. So as long as we speed run it, we should be
Yeah,
good.
this was the last of what I wanted to talk about anyway, so that'll give us like a hard cutoff that if we need to, I can, 10 minutes before we can end it and whatever, but that's
Yeah.
probably enough
So
time
if I
anyway.
disappear, it's because my power got cut.
I'll close us out if that happens, and no worries. But for those who are watching, we're going to end out on a little bit of whatnot talk because just as of the last month, the last 2, 3 weeks, a lot has changed. But just in the beginning of the month, I think it was the first. It was while I was on vacation. It was the same time that Lorcana was releasing. I think because I was also keeping a little bit tabs of this. Whatnot changed its terms of service and made it so that it's elite. It's not allowed anymore to sell any sort of extra gambling on top of the booster pack. So they no longer are allowed to run bounties. People are no longer allowed to give extra prizes or bonus extras when you purchase to juice up the pot or encourage purchasing. Or maybe you can't give someone who, oh, if you buy 5 of these you'll get an extra whatever, but you can't do that extra stuff anymore. You only are allowed to sell the item that's on screen and not an additional gamble attached to it. Now, mystery bags are still allowed. Rip Till You Hit, which is shout out to my own channel, I popularized on Whatnot, is still allowed because it favors the buyer. And singles, of course, are still allowed to sell. And as long as you're not literally swapping things out or not sending, doing shady things and being an honest seller, honestly, you can still operate completely like normal, even doing mystery bags, which a lot of people have big problems with. That I've never had problems with, clearly. I sell them, so how could I have problems with them? But I've also publicly defended like people who both sell mystery. Well, I don't defend people who sell mystery packs because that's kind of on the person. But I defend the people who buy them, and I defend myself who sells them because you can never control what other people do. And I understand where some of the qualms with mystery packs come from.
I don't like if it's specifically stated what you get in the mystery bag. What is the difference between opening a mystery bag and opening an ETB? You're not guaranteed any specific hits out of an ETB. You're just guaranteed a certain amount of packs, your dice, your counters, your sleeves. That's it. So like,
That's where the
what's
trust
I
element
don't
that's where the trust element of the producer of the mystery packs really comes in, and that's specifically why I don't do like the sellers of mystery packs, because you can never know, and I can only vouch for myself. So that's why I get where people are coming from with that. But I agree with you on that too, and that's what I've always sort of held to. So, but anyway, that's a part of Whatnot, right? So that was a huge part of Whatnot, but they recently doubled, or kind of circled back, and they removed that, which, to be honest, like, that took me by surprise. Did you hear about any of that, like, when that was happening, or have you been kind of not really paying attention to Whatnot right now?
I don't I mean I watched your video saying
Okay.
how they changed the terms and stuff like that, and but like honestly the only exposure I get to Whatnot is through like Daily Refinement because he sells like clothes on there and stuff like that, which is why I've never really like I know a lot of like shady stuff happens with Pokemon, but to me it's like it's just a platform. If you're a bad person that's doing bad shady business practices, unfortunately that happens, but like you can do good business because again, like Daily Refinement's on there, like dude's got a huge platform, does honest business, things like that. So I'm glad that things have changed. I hope you get back on there and
They're
start.
changing, because here's the
Okay,
thing,
well,
man. The second part of this little rant, because that's what happened. That's their official stance on it and everything. But there have been plenty of rule breakers and benders and people who have just literally decided they're not. And Whatnot has been, up until this point. Now people can correct me. Go, come on, Whatnot, come at me in the comments, please. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Don't tell me if I'm wrong. Just prove me wrong. But so many, I literally took screenshots of some of the largest sellers on the platform. Shout out to Card Shop Live, Channel Fireball. the channel that just legitimately screws over. It's a game store that operates like a distributorship, and it screws its fellow competition game stores with reckless abandon, with almost no care at all for what they're doing. They do it online with dumping products like Flesh and Blood and MetaZoo, saying how much they basically not giving how much quantity is out on the market, selling it for a certain price at a certain time, and then just dumping it once their sale is over. And it's just lots of shadiness. A lot of game stores, I feel like I'm not the only one who feels this way about Card Shop Live, but I have a screenshot of them legitimately saying, we're just going to keep breaking the rules until there are actual repercussions because we see other people doing it and they're not getting repercussions. So why should we stop? I took plenty of screenshots of lots of these big sellers saying it in brazenly in the public whatnot seller. It's not public, it's private, but it's pretty public. You can get in there almost easily. I feel like they give out memberships to the whatnot seller Discord like it's candy on Halloween, but until they actually go and enforce these rules, I'm going to have little to no respect for the platform because you can say one thing all you want, but until you actually enforce it, and then you have literally your biggest sellers saying boldly they're just not going to follow the rules until there's repercussions, like that is a level of just not give a fuckery that I can't play with. I can't play with ball with that because I'm not one of these huge sellers with big old balls of fucking money that can swing around their dick and just swat these little fucking small sellers. Excuse my language. Excuse
Well,
me.
it's funny because like before we got on, I was watching a bit of this podcast, and I can't. So it's this dude that's like a professor of psychology at Stanford. I can't remember his name, but he's a pretty big podcast. Anyways, the guest that he brought on was I can't remember the dude's first name, but it's Andreessen Horowitz is like a big VC fund, like it's huge in the finance space, big investment firm, and so he had Andreessen on, and one of the things they were talking about, like they got onto somehow they got onto talking about the Godfather, and they were saying that like the Godfather was based on this certain dude 50, 60 years ago that basically like ran the mafia. And a couple of people had said like if this dude that had run the mafia had applied himself to being like the CEO of General Motors or something like that, he would have been like unstoppable, right? Like he should have applied his business acumen and things like that. And Andreessen was like, I actually disagree with that. I think people that are smart and people that are driven and honest don't need to do bad stuff, if that makes sense. So he was like, this dude sort of took like the easy route by, or not the easy route, but like he took a different route by being like the mafia boss rather than being like a CEO. He's like, if you're smart, if you're intelligent and driven and hardworking and things like that, like you can afford or you're good enough, I guess, to make it within the confines of the law and the system. And I'd like to believe that that's how it's gonna be over, because it's like, yeah, homeboy Blake Break, whatever, he made like all this money, but like now it's done. And like his name is tarnished, at least in the Pokemon space. And I imagine because he is such a public figure, if he went to sort of like get sponsorship deals, like other companies might not want to like touch him because of like his brand now is tarnished, right? So even in the short term, he might have like been more profitable than people doing stuff the right way. But like if you look at a Rusty TCA Gaming, Rusty has just consistently done honest business forever. And now it's like, did Blake Break make more in the short term than Rusty? Maybe, but like Rusty's still here. People still try. You see what I'm saying? So like,
No, absolutely.
I hope that things will be that. I know it's tough to compete. Like you've explained it before. They open packs early. They're able to sell them for more. They have bigger fun. Blah blah blah. Like I get all that, and that's unfortunate, and it is hard to compete with that. But I like to think that over the long term, that being honest is going to win out, even if it doesn't in the short term. So I don't know. I would just say that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. And that's sort of one of the things that I've always felt about my particular business is that I won't take those shortcuts that I see others doing that I think would damage my potential prospects for the future because I feel the same way about it. I also have a certain sense of honor and ethics and morals that I feel like isn't typical of Western culture, especially not the capitalist business culture that's bred. It's typically more advantageous to do everything you can within the law and within the letters or confines of your ability to just outcompete and screw over everyone who's not you, to get the best competitive, like the most profits, the most competitive advantage against your competitors, and essentially, without becoming a monopoly, take over the market. And so, because monopolies, well, they're not allowed, they kind of still exist to a certain extent when you just run the market. So like I think to a certain extent that it's not beneficial to have any ethics in business, but to a certain extent it is because you can stay in business longer and your customers can have the confidence in your ethics to give you continued business. So I think it goes both ways, and like it's like one of those things that you have to decide, right? You in it for the short term or the long term. And so I think that most people who do want to be in it for the short term only would probably have more of a tendency to skew towards the making short-term sided decisions based on profit and not caring about how it looks or the optics, as Brake would say. The optics of the situation, not caring about how the long-term optics look. It's bad optics, man. But who cares if you're only in it for a year? Yeah. But it's just one of those things that I think that you want to look out for when you're going to choose to do business with people who have been around for a while. If someone has like a record of having bad business, like you said, you're not going to probably want to do business with them. But I do think it's one of those things that for me, it makes sense because I have to look at myself in the mirror at night, like at the end of the day, every person's moral compass, it's all dependent on, you got to look at yourself at the end of the day. So like I can't tell someone where the line is drawn. I can tell you where the line's drawn for me, but I can't tell someone else where the line's drawn. The law does that, but that's why I think that sometimes it's like businesses push it to the limit within the law, because like it's all subjective. And when it's not just me, like for me, my business is just me. But when you're a big corporation, you're a big congruent of people, and your only shared interest is profits, and it's a shared, like, you have a public company that's traded, and you have a board of representatives. I can understand how businesses can skew to the side of unethical business practices, because when it's not just a single person, it becomes skewed as to what's right and what's wrong. You have to go by the law. And if there's not regulation in place, like for the example of whatnot, there wasn't regulation in place to prevent like these scams from happening or becoming egregious, like the gambling, getting out of the wheels, because I just came back from Lake Tahoe, the Nevada side, and they have casinos out there. And I was walking through the casino, and I couldn't, and it's the first time I've been to a casino since I've been doing Pokemon in the last 2 years. And I couldn't help but think to myself, this feels like what whatnot has become for Pokemon cards, or what it
But
had become with all the
but
wheels
really
and flashing lights. And it just felt like that got too far. So
but really quick too, like to your point about there not being like enforcement yet, like part of that is because it's young, but also because it's young, like this is a new thing to the space, there's not other options. So if there were more options, if whatnot continues to not regulate, to allow misbehavior, things like that, this is a profitable space. This is a profitable business model. Either eBay or whatever it is. What's the one that PSA? I can't remember what the one that PSA does, but
Fanatics, I think.
no,
Fanatics
PSA.
Live.
Well, I guess they have that too, but PSA has, I can't remember what it's called. But anyways, um, so there's not a lot. Okay, so like right now, if a TCG came out and like blatantly just lied, scammed people, like an actual, like a new card game came out, lied, scammed people, said we're not going to do this. I mean, dude, even Magic, like look what happened with Magic, like how pissed people got about the 30th anniversary. They're like, oh, you're going back on the reserve list, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. The reason that that impacted Magic so negatively is because there's other options. People can go to Flesh and Blood, people can go to Yu-Gi-Oh, people can go to Pokemon where they know that there's honesty, right? Right now, there isn't really other options. But if Whatnot continues down this path, doesn't regulate, and other options present themselves that people can trust, eventually, like people are just going to go to the other options. Like I see what you're saying, but like businesses that thrive on like just being bad, stepping on people, not treating customers well, like they might last for a while, but they're not going to last forever. Like the businesses that have staying power do good honest business, treat customers well, treat the community well, care about the community, make events and spaces for the community to have fun and interact with the brand. You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like it's because there isn't other option. And same thing with casinos. Like you go to Vegas, if you go to Vegas and you find out that there's a casino that's scamming you, there's a ton of other options within walking distance. You're going to go to a different casino,
Here's the
but you don't
problem
really
right
have
now
that.
with
So I
other
don't know.
options, though, is like you said with eBay Live, and like we discussed on previous podcasts. It's unfortunate, but I see wheel spins, bounties, and I see the same egregious problems actually happening on eBay Live as well as Whatnot. So now Whatnot's banned it, but those people are going to Drip and they're going to the other options that were supposed, other. So they're going to
Yeah, that's
TikTok,
fair. That's fair.
So it's one of those things where
Yeah, a
I
lot of them are
do.
going to TikTok for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's
But that's not but a lot of them are going to like, the eBay Live is still, I've seen some, not all, like shout out to old school Pokemon. He doesn't run any of that. He doesn't run any bounties or wheels because he's just doing his singles and doing his packs and he's doing good with it. But others are. So I just want to say it's like we thought it would be a lot more reined in than it would on eBay Live because we thought, oh, it's a big corporation. They have their interests to look out for. They don't want it to degrade into the same thing that they saw these smaller companies, private companies, getting into trouble with. And here we are, and they're going in the same route because I think that it was a lack of oversight because it was a large corporation who is more interested in profit and pushing the envelope to the nth of the law than they are as much about morals and ethics and how it actually reality works. So I continue to have my qualms with these live streaming platforms as long as these things are problems with it. I can continue to I still feel like it's not a good idea for me to put my business back on a platform like this until I feel like it's a little bit more, like you said, a safe place for my customers. And while I have complete control and it would be a safe place when they buy from me, by me being on the platform, it says that I trust the platform enough to provide a host for other sellers. And if anyone wanders into another seller's live stream and buys from them, they're giving money to a potential scammer that I can't be confident that the company that I'm also giving money to, not my employer, but someone who gives money, I'm giving money to, and they're giving money to me, facilitating the sale. I should have the confidence that my other buyers aren't going to get scammed, or at least that when they do, that I'm going to be able to say, oh, they'll take care of you if you do. And at this point, I'm still not there. And that's sad to say, but I did that big update. I did want to talk about this. And I'm glad we got this out in the air because, like, since the update, I had high hopes, and those hopes have sort of been dashed a little bit. But at least, like, they're, I guess, trying maybe. So, down, if you're listening this far, thank you. I think Nick's got 15 minutes left before he's going to be in the dark ages with candles and reading out of a tome and
this
sacrificing
is this
goats or
is what
whatever
you
he does
get
when
for
he doesn't
living
have
in the
power.
woods, dog. Like this is what you get for living out in the boonies, man. Like if I lived in the city, I'd have better internet. I wouldn't have to deal with this kind of stuff. But
Yeah, he does all kinds of rituals out there for fun though, so it's all good, right? Yeah.
yeah, cabal rituals.
Oh no, you said the C word. We were supposed to C word. We're exposed. We're exposed, Nick. What are we gonna do? Cut. No, but If you listen this long, we appreciate you. Tell me down below if Whatnot's getting better. If you're current, I know a lot of my viewers are a lot of my old Whatnot viewers who stayed on the platform. So I greatly appreciate when any of you comment below when I talk about Whatnot, because you know I'm out of the loop, but you know I love you guys and I want to hear from you. So tell me if it's changed at all in this last half a month since they made the update, or if people are still just out there like, nah, we're just running it. We're just running it live and till we get shut down, we'll get banned for a week and then we'll just run it back. So, tell me if that's the level of non-fuckery that's given, or if there's a
That
little
is
bit more.
pretty crazy, dude. Like it'd be one thing if like you posted in an Instagram story or Snapchat or something, but like to be in the actual Discord saying like F you, we're gonna do that's
Under
crazy, dog.
your
Like
name,
that's
under the
blatant.
card shop's name, to the point I took a screenshot because I had to have this shit. It was like crazy. Yeah, like
Yeah,
that.
that's that I mean,
I don't know if they might have been joking now that like because I didn't go to their stream and like I didn't rattle them and like compile out. It's just I was scrolling through the Discord. I read that shit and I was like, screenshot. I was like, I'm keeping that one. But yeah, so come at me, Card Chap Live.
no,
You guys are
that's
fucking
way too
clowns if you
blatant.
do.
Yeah, that's way too blatant. That doesn't seem like a I don't that's
Have fun with that shit. Like, come
yeah,
at me,
dog.
you
That's
guys. Like,
wild.
you guys have screwed over so many game stores. I'm happy to throw a little shade your way. Have a fucking whole mountain of shade for all I care. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Channel Fireball, I know, pissed off a lot of people. So
oh yeah, like literally, I'm real careful about my name drops when I call people out. I only call out the worst offenders, the people I really don't give a fuck about. And Channel Fireball has long lost my faith to the point where I've called them out many times. It's
I
like
think
that.
Rudy made a video, right? Didn't Rudy make
Oh
like a
God,
long
Rudy's
time
been
ago?
calling them out for ages, and I mean, people have their qualms about Rudy. People should call him out about some things, but he's right about Channel Fireball, and I
I
knew
like Rudy, dude. I like
I
Rudy.
like
Like,
him too. Don't
I
get me
think he's
wrong.
cool.
I've been a patron. I was a patron for like a year and a half. I finally sort of I hadn't bought from him in like 6 months because and so I was like, all right, I'm finally gonna not be a patron anymore. But I do like the guy and I support the guy and I watch his videos. So like it has nothing to do with that. But yeah, but yeah, you guys are the real ones for staying through us for this whole podcast. And Nick, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for this. This has been a really good talk, really cathartic for me to be able to talk all this. For the last couple of weeks, I've been interacting very sparsely with the community. There's just a lot going on, a drama that I just wanted nothing to do with. And I was on vacation, so I was kind of watching through the window, like looking at what's going on. Like, but it's nice to be back, and I really appreciate you sitting down with me and being able to have this talk. And so, like, if you guys are here, drop a comment down below with saying the support. I may not respond to all the comments. I'm really bad about that. Recently, over the weekend, we played a game where we had to look at a card, and the part of the game was looking through your text messages and counting how many of the last 10 that you didn't respond to, and the person who didn't respond to the most was like the worst, the most egregious. They had to like drink or something. And guess who had all 10 messages that they didn't respond to?
I know you left me on red, bro. I said you said to the Cardboard Hands podcast. I said something, but no, I'm not mad about it. If you made it this far, though, people, drop your favorite Disney character in the chat. Drop or in the comments
Yeah, I
section.
want to know
Drop.
who's gonna be the one you're going for if you're gonna be picking something up Disney wise, or just who's your favorite character. That's even better. Yeah, that's a good call. Nick's always that's why he's on the podcast. He's full of good ideas. So thanks again, guys. We're gonna let him prepare for his power outage here, and we're gonna cut the podcast. And until the next one, look out for that, and we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you.